Lesson 6, ESL, or English as a Silly Language. The problem with English is that it was invented by English people. They stole words and phrases from every language in the world to distinguish themselves from the majority of the Earth's population, because they believed themselves to be God's chosen people. Unfortunately, someone else stole that idea before them. The historic irony today is that English is the de facto world language, and now English people witness every day the betrayal of their beloved class-based language being bastardized by the people they conquered, as well as the rest of the world. Because of England's early imperialist history, English is spoken around the world and is as much a cultural assault on its colonialized people as it is on their own lower classes. English is a hybrid language that is borrowed freely from every language in the world, with no thought to its fluency. This has created a dissonance between the way one speaks English and the way one writes English. Most languages can be understood across cultures because the spoken word is the same as or similar to the written word. English, rather devilishly, cannot be understood so simply. To speak and write English, one is forced to undergo a cultural transformation that spits in the eye of logic and sensible communication practices. To learn English is to be subjected to the equivalent of the rack, where the tools needed to speak the language are diametrically opposed to the tools needed to write English. This is why nobody has any idea who William Shakespeare really was, and why he left us so few clues as to his brilliance and understanding of the language he made famous. As an ESL teacher, I have never had a class of students who all share the same learning styles. As a result, it is incumbent on me to determine from the outset what my students are used to with regard to learning styles. The range of learning styles is expansive, beginning with the physical sense we have about learning, the way we interact with people, and our style of thinking and absorbing information, along with cultural and historical factors. Note that some students are more comfortable learning by rote or through visual tools, flashcards, videos, drawings, maps, and the like, or kinetic methods through role-playing, simulations, field trips, for example, make it essential that I design my class programs to incorporate the appropriate learning styles that meet my students' needs. Of course, people can change, provided they are shown alternative learning styles that they can become comfortable with. As a result, I include a variety of exercises in my classroom to emphasize the previously mentioned styles, as well as debates, chain stories, and word games to help strengthen my students' verbal skills. Dictation, listening, and dialogue exercises to stimulate auditory skills, puzzles and problem solving to stimulate logical, analytical skills, and pair and group work to stimulate interpersonal skills. Combining these and other learning styles is a very important commitment to my teaching methods. If a student is used to learning through verbal and visual styles, I present her or him with a program full of logical, analytical tasks. I will create frustration for both of us because I will not communicate effectively with that student. Knowing the different kinds of learning styles and strategies is critical to teaching ESL and allows me to encourage all my students to learn in their particular way while also introducing them to additional ways to which they can learn. As an ESL instructor who teaches Spanish, Arabic, Chinese, Vietnamese, and French speakers, I'm always approached by people who wonder why I don't speak all those languages. I explain to them that in order to learn a language, you must first hear it, which requires learning to listen. Simultaneously, you must speak what you hear and practice daily. And thirdly, you must accumulate new words daily, building a vocabulary through understanding how you learn and retain information. This is a poem I wrote about my arrival in America, and it's called The Arrival. And I came, naked, free, burned by destiny's anthem, yet cloistered by the fire of my desire, spitting hope out towards the horizon that shrunk away from my tremendous commitment to suck up all my disappointments and mistakes and imbibe them with the pregnancy of a new birthing. Come then into this fire of cleansing power. Burn away the warts of transgressions and fears. Embrace this silent hour of our arrival. Here, brother, sip cool waters. Lesson 7. Getting a job. The last piece of the puzzle of coming to America is to find a job. Many immigrants continue to work within their own community here in America and are thus subject to many of the same restrictions that held them down when they were in their home country. America, notwithstanding its particular historical prejudices, is a country that encourages everyone to open a shop and announce to the world that he or she is in business. But to really take advantage of America, it's necessary to work effectively with Americans and learn the cultural language of the marketplace. Americans love to spend money, unlike many Europeans. I am not pointing specifically at the British. But Americans require that you understand their consumer habits. At some point, the newcomer, as well as people born here in America, need to sharpen their skills required for job seeking and finding new career opportunities through job search career development workshops. I've created a program based on my own experiences looking for and applying for work in America. And I've learned a lot about what to do and what not to do. Most importantly, I believe that if you can identify and focus on your key goals, you'll find success, whatever the current job market may be. In my personal interactive class, you will experience and participate in a number of exercises and discussions and assessments to explore your future job career path. Participants will examine their motivations, skills, interests, values, and work preferences to learn how to put them into action. This hands-on program will empower you. In my Job Success Workbook, participants are required to answer questions, list ideas, develop vocabulary, research information, write about their work experiences honestly, and identify their passions and goals. Research has shown that people learn best when they act out, write about, and talk about their ideas in groups. By making a personal effort to commit to these ideas, they, in their turn, own their ideas and therefore their future. Engagement with the material in my workbook through writing, reading, and discussion is the workbook's purpose and therefore requires all participants to bring their focused attention and commitment to its study. My program covers 4 key areas over 6 2-hour classes, which can be taken online or in live workshop settings. The programs include 1. A self-assessment test, which will help you identify your ideal job. Number 2. Workshops to help you develop your resume and cover letter. 3. Public speaking and elevator speeches that will build your confidence in your interview skills. 4. A how-to on developing your own job success strategy through understanding how the job market works and identifying and pursuing the job success you want. This workbook comes out of my own experiences looking for work across different cultures, countries, industries, and careers over the past 40 years in both public and private enterprises. I'm originally from London, England, and as a young man of color coming of age in a profoundly color and class-conscious environment, I learned quickly that if I was to find employment, I needed to learn the rules of the society I was in. I had no time to dwell on the unfairness of the particular system in which I was attempting to make my way. Irrational behavior by people in positions of power is a fact of life. The sooner you learn to focus on your goals and to acquire and exercise the skills and attitudes needed to survive in the world, the sooner you will be successful at living the life you want. This workbook, then, is not from the perspective of a career counselor who studied how to help people in an MBA course, nor is it from the perspective of a career bureaucrat who manages the different programs of processing people in and out of the workforce. This workbook is from and by a worker who has lived in the world of work and continues to search. Lesson 8. How to give a speech. To be effective at public speaking, it's important to bear in mind some basic principles. 1. Get people's attention. 2. Welcome them. 3. Introduce yourself. 4. State the purpose of your presentation. 5. State how you want to deal with questions. 1. Ways to get people's attention. If I could have everybody's attention, please. If we can get started, perhaps we should begin now. Let's get started. Number 2, welcome them. Welcome to Successful Thinkers Network. Thank you for coming today. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of IC Moore Consulting, I'd like to welcome you. Introduce yourself. My name is Ian Moore. I'm responsible for travel arrangements. For those who don't know me, my name is Ian Moore. As you know, I'm in charge of public relations. I am the new teacher. State the purpose of your presentation. This morning, I'd like to present my new program. Today, I'd like to discuss how to be a successful speaker. This afternoon, I'd like to report on my job success seminar. Number 5, state how you want to deal with questions. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them as we go along. Feel free to ask any questions. Perhaps we can leave any questions you have until the end. There will be plenty of time for questions at the end. Of course, these are only suggestions, and other presentations are possible. Even within this limited group of phrases, just choose a few you feel comfortable with and practice them. I have a more extensive discussion about giving a speech in my book, The 3 Rules of Communication. The importance of public speaking is a critical part of acculturation into America because it forces you to express yourself in the community and share your ideas. One of the things that happens when you speak out is that you get feedback from friends, co-workers, and those who disagree with you. Facing opposition to your ideas is a good thing. It makes you think more deeply about your beliefs. You will learn a lot, not only about how to articulate your ideas, but also how those ideas affect others, and sometimes how they create opposition. Nobody can please everyone all of the time, or even some of the time, but that doesn't mean you don't speak what's on your mind. That's how we learn. For me, learning public speaking and joining networking groups who encourage me to speak allowed me to practice in a supportive environment so I could improve my message about my work. Here is a speech I gave about why I like to write. It's called Spreading the Disease of Literature. Picture this. You've finished the final draft of your manuscript and sent it off to your publisher for final proofreading and publication. You sit back in your chair and look through the content page of your book and relive the stories, experiences, and efforts that have filled up the last year of your every free hour. Your partner comes into your writing room with a bottle of champagne and 2 glasses and gives you a big hug and toasts your success. Wrapped in supportive arms, you realize you've done it. You've fulfilled a dream that you've had for years. Now you have the living proof that your passion has a beginning, middle, and end, all of which are manifested in this book. You now have credibility in your world. Hi, I'm Ian Moore, published writer, teacher, and career consultant. I've written and published many books of essays, poetry, short stories, and novels over the past 30 years. My passion is literature. I absolutely love words and ideas and stories. I'm a fanatical reader, a mad collector of books. I'm here today to infect you with the disease of literature. It's my intention to stimulate your passion to write your story. Sonia, a client of mine, has had experience of that euphoria of having her name on the sleeve of a book and seen the eyes of her friends water with admiration at her accomplishments. It is true that every thinking, breathing person wants the world to know that she or he has a passion worthy of sharing. I didn't always have this love of literature. In my early years, I was a sports jock and loved to play soccer, rugby, and cricket. Competitive sports were what I learned at my British boarding school, where I was an inmate for 10 years. If you've read or seen Charles Dickens' story Oliver Twist, you will get an idea of how barbaric public education for orphans was and still is in many parts of Britain. But my real liberation came through travel, and like anyone who has thrown off the yoke of his or her home country and gone exploring, I found that traveling helped me to discover myself. Traveling teaches one that there are lots of yous, and the more you travel, the more different sides of you discover about yourself. After 13 years traveling in Britain, Europe, the Middle East, North and West Africa, I came to America, and from the time of my early travels, I kept a diary. When I read those scribblings, they seemed full of despair and bitterness. I didn't think much about them, but I kept scribbling. When I came to America, I used to talk to my friends about my travel experiences. I was surprised to find that many people in California had not traveled anywhere except on tourist trips. In Europe, everyone travels. Many of my new friends urged me to write my stories down. At first, I didn't think anyone would be interested in them. But after my storytelling began irritating my wife, she told me to write them down because she was sick of hearing about them. So I wrote them down. And that began my career as a writer. Lesson 8. Cultural Signals in the Workplace. Stereotypes are, understandably, questionable ways to define people. However, it is a curious fact that most people spend half their time defining themselves by their own stereotypes, and the rest of their time resenting being stereotyped by others. With this caveat of acknowledging that individuals are not stereotypes, please review the 5 corporate cultural styles presented below. These first-level categories are, by their nature, very general. Most corporations are combinations of all 5 styles in varying degrees. They are presented here to make people aware of such styles and encourage people to research carefully the cultural environment they are going into when they apply for a job. 1. Family. Status is ascribed to parental figures that are close and powerful. 2. Pyramid. Status is ascribed to superior roles who are distant yet powerful. Number 3. Project. Status is achieved by project group members who contribute to targeted goals. Number 4. Startups. Status is achieved by individuals exemplifying creativity and growth. 5. Government. Status is achieved by positions in organizational charts. 6. Rules versus relationships. The rules or universal cultural approach can be summed up by what's good and right can be defined and always applies a linear definition of what is right or wrong. What is important in relationship cultures is that friendship has special obligations and should come first. They are more organic and less concerned with abstract social codes. 7. Groups versus individuals. In group cultures, people consider themselves primarily as a part of a group and believe that the community should come first. The individualist cultural approach believes that individualism is more important and they should be allowed to develop and contribute to the community as and when they wish. 8. Neutral versus passionate. Neutrals believe that the nature of people's interactions should be objective and detached. The belief that it's just business or to be cool. A major assumption of this attitude is that people should resemble machines in order to operate businesses more efficiently. Passionate cultures consider business a human affair where the whole gamut of emotions is seen as appropriate. Loud laughter, many people talking at the same time about different things in a meeting, or leaving the conference room in anger during a negotiation is all part of business. 9. Open versus specific. In an open business culture, the whole person is involved in the business relationship. There is real personal contact and may involve integrating relationships both inside and outside of business, like family contacts. In specific business cultures, the business relationship is defined by written contracts, which set legal responsibilities for both parties before, during, and at the end of that relationship. 10. Achievement versus connections. Achievement culture rewards and admires people and groups by what they have recently accomplished. Connection culture rewards people and groups by their attributes of class, birth, school, college, kingship, and age.